Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Welcome back. Thank you for not quitting and giving up on us. So, you ever heard the saying that if you have 1 year time, you grow rice. If you have 10-year time, you grow coconuts. And if you have 100 years time, you grow people. Srila Prabhupada stayed up every night for a couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours, to write his 6 pages. And in this way, he wrote over 80 books because he was concerned about the next 10,000 years. That was his vision. That was his time scale. The golden age. He knew from Lord Chaitanya, 500 years in, we still got 9,500 years to go. So, that was his contribution to give us these books. He said, I've given you principles, you fill in the details. Jesus did not have millions of disciples. How many disciples did he have? 12. One good Christian here. Very good. 12. So, and not all of them were very good. Some of them were terrible. Some of them were so-so. And a couple of them actually did something. They were okay. And now, you have Christianity pretty much everywhere, all over the world. Have you ever met people from Tripura, Nagaland? All Christians. All these areas, completely converted. Evangelical, all different missions, totally. All these remote areas. Not just Kerala and Goa. Many of these remote areas. Now, in the civilized world, that formerly was known as the first world, now it's called the old countries, for every Catholic who joins, 6 are leaving the church. That means -5. But they are still making converts in South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia, including these remote areas of India. How do they do it? They take the resources from the first world and they allocate it in the developing worlds. And in this way, they can stabilize, they can still maintain their institution. So, this is called the graveyard shift. It means the time after lunch, post-lunch coma, food coma. You know food coma? Everybody gets very digestive and very deep and thoughtful because all the blood is here and this is a little... So the afternoon session, we're going to have it fun and light, we're going to make it a little bit more easygoing. It's just 2 hours, so, don't worry about it. It goes faster than you expect. Couple of things. If you're struggling with coming up with your 108 or your 5 whys, why do I want to do book distribution? If you read, you go through the aims of book distribution and also the purposes of educating book distributors. They're there in your student handbook. You can get some of those good ideas. Okay? You don't have to be original. You know what plagiarism is? Plagiarism. Copy paste, right? Control C, Control V. Copy, paste, right? Now, if you were to write your PhD or you were to write an essay, that's not permissible. That's not acceptable. What's the Sanskrit word for plagiarism? Guru Parampara. Tadvigyanam. You're following in line. You're following the previous acharyas. So it's not a bad thing. Repetition of a good thing is a good thing. But what you will encounter also is that people will ask you, what's your opinion? What do you think? And you go, me? I don't think. And they go, huh? Hello? No, I don't think. Somebody already did the thinking, huh? And they will call you a fanatic, a terrorist, whatever. So feel free to use your thinking faculty, your capacity in Krishna's service. Vishyavinivartante niraharasya raso varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchi. You have to use your rishik, you have to use your sensory faculties and capacity in Krishna's service. Otherwise, they will again drag you into the mundane, into the modes of material nature. So, want to have a little bit of a discussion on the fifth principle and value, and that is the character of an ideal ISKCON representative. Maybe you can give us that. Fifth principle and value. You can go back to the principles and values right in the beginning. Number 5. There you go. One back. Yep. All book distributors are expected to display ideal character and to interact with the public with politeness and respect. Have you heard the expression, be an ambassador of goodwill? Do you know what an ambassador is? I love those sounds. Do you like those sounds? When they drag those metal things over? No. No, you don't like it? No? Did they invent these rubber things underneath tables and chairs? They did invent them, right? They do exist, yeah. Maybe somebody can make a note of it and communicate? Huh? Because the place is really nice, and they did a marvelous job building this 10 years ago. But maintenance is Vishnu. That's all I'm saying. Maintenance is Vishnu. Huh? That's what Krishna takes charge himself personally. Maintenance. So, don't think that, I'm not doing fabulous things, I'm just maintaining. That's Vishnu. So if you're maintaining, that's Sattvic. That's really nice. A lot of people are concerned with putting big results up, big scores. Huh? Some people want to change the world, or they want to tear things up, but very few people are concerned about maintaining. Huh? Being an ambassador of goodwill. I'm going to tell you a little story and then we have some reflections. A good friend of mine, he joined in northeast Brazil, but he's actually from Buenos Aires, Argentina. So he joined in late 70s, early 80s. And when he was a brahmachari in Buenos Aires, his spiritual master fell ill in America. So he was asked to go and serve his Gurudev to get him well. So he went to the American embassy in Buenos Aires to get a visa. And he went in pant and shirt, because you go to the American embassy, right, you don't know who you're going to deal with, right? So, and his visa application got rejected. The next day he went back in dhoti and kurta. And he said, I want to speak to the ambassador. And the lady came. She was fairly young, in her 40s. And he said, and so she said, yes, how can I help you? He said that yesterday your less intelligent bureaucrat rejected my application. Pretty bold for an opening statement, right? Little did he know that we are missionaries. And I'm not going to US for my own interests, but I'm going there to serve my guru. In our tradition, serving the guru is the most important thing. So, he's sick, he needs my help. I have done it before. I can do it again. I need visa. She said, so you're not just going and becoming an illegal immigrant and going to work job and disappear like everybody else? He said, no, we're missionaries. We come, we go, we do this all the time. She paused for some time. Then she said, okay, I give you the visa. And as she was getting up from the table, under her breath, she said, I read Prabhupada's Gita. Why did she say quietly? Because there is Marines, there is military police. She's the top dog. She's the top American in the country. She's the ambassador. And he took out a Prabhupada Lilamrita that he had in his bag. He couldn't give it to her because that's considered a bribe. So he just loved those sounds. So he just left it on the table. Now you may question, why did she ask him all these questions? If she already read the Gita, she knows who he is and what he's doing. Why do people ask you all these questions when you're on book distribution? They can see, they know who ISKCON is. Why are they asking you all these questions? Checking. Yes, checking what? Huh? Whether you are who you say you are. That's what they want to make sure. Huh? That you're not just some guy who puts on some orange shirt and goes around, trying scamming people for money. Now, also she's a kshatriya. It's her business to make sure that everybody's following their dharma. That's her job. So she's just doing her job. Huh? Now, being an ambassador of goodwill means that you are not representing yourself. You're not even representing your project. You're representing Prabhupada, ISKCON, and Krishna. So if people don't have the best impression, that will reflect poorly on Prabhupada, on ISKCON, and on Krishna. So our job is an important job. Therefore, people get trained for a long time to learn how to represent organizations. Even if you were to work in a fast food place, they would send you to the fast food university, and they train you for 2 or 3 weeks how to make French fries and how to flip burgers and how to do that kind of stuff. No joke, it's a fact. 2 to 3 weeks before they allow you to do these things. Now, we have people who walk in the day, and the same day they walk in, we take them out on the street, and we send them out to represent the movement, right? And sometimes it doesn't work so great, because they're not trained. They don't know how to behave, they don't know what to say, and they're themselves in anxiety. And what happens if you're in anxiety? You start putting other people into anxiety. It's a natural consequence. So, of course, there are different times. When we started, there was only one rule, no rules, which means just get the job done. Just get out there and put the books out. Nobody asked how, where, when. It was just, you did what you had to do. But now it's 2023, we're in a different stage of development. People have some sort of understanding of ISKCON and what are we representing, so it becomes a little more sensitive of a topic, that we're actually doing things in the proper way. So, now what else? Every person we meet has a certain capacity. It's like some people, all they can take is a smile. They're not ready to talk to you. Have you noticed? Sometimes you smile at them and you want to speak and they already, like they disappear. They're not willing to engage. It's okay. Next time. Sometimes you say hi and then they may respond and then they don't want to talk. Sometimes they engage. Oftentimes it takes a few times before they're actually willing to engage. Have you noticed? It's just normal. Why? People need to build up trust. They need to build up trust. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kare Sudri Nanishchoy Sarva Kaila Karma. What's the last? Krishna Bhakti? Karma Krita Hoy. Yes. So, without that Shraddha, without that trust that yes, this is good, I want this, I like this, it's going to be very difficult. So we have to invest into people, invest into relationships, and that's true for on the street and that's true for your teams. Yes, you can say, I'm the boss, you have to follow what I say. But now it's postmodernism, which means people have options. If they don't like you, they go to another center. If they don't like you, they go online. If they don't like you, in your area, there may be a few Hare Krishna groups. Do we have a monopoly on bhakti? Do we have a monopoly on Bhagavad Gita? Do we have a monopoly on Veda? Then stop being arrogant and think that you own the brand, because we don't. We're simply servants. 70 years after an author passes away, his works go into public domain. You know what public domain is? It means anybody can print them, anybody can sell them. If you want to sell Shakespeare's works or, Karl Marx's work or whatever, it's open, it's public domain. Now, why would people get the books from you? What's the value added benefit that I'm getting from connecting with ISKCON? That's the question we should be asking ourselves. You can get books on Flipkart, on Amazon, you can buy them, you can do online, you will find everything. It's all out there on the web, right? Why should I get the book from you? What's the value added benefit? Relationship, yes, absolutely. That is the value added benefit that you can't get on Flipkart and that you can't get on Amazon or in the University of YouTube. Even if you have you met people who were educated in the University of YouTube? You know the University of YouTube? No? There's these little videos where people click on it and they watch, and then they think they're educated because they watched a few videos. Have you met people like that? They know nothing about nothing. The only thing they know is that I got credit on my phone. I got internet, That's the only thing they know. So, if you want to have impact on people, be aware that you gotta be an ambassador of goodwill. You gotta leave people with a positive impression, and you have to give them that value added benefit. That what I'm getting out of this, what is the bottom line? Now, when people meet you, they have 3 questions in mind. What are the 3 questions people have in mind when they see you? Question number 1. Who are you? Question number 2. What's this book? Question number 3. What's in it for me? What am I getting out of this? You can also just start with number 3. Forget about the first 2. Okay? Just cut to the chase. Get right to the point. Okay. So, in one word or less, what is it that you want to communicate to people? Because remember, Lavamatra Sadhusanga, Savarsiddhi. You remember attention span of goldfish? How long is it? 1 moment. Lavamatra. What is your message in one word or less? What do you want to communicate to people? 1 word. That means Tatashtu. Shanti. Huh? What is it?
This is solution for all the problems. And then that word, what?
Solution. 1 word. Mercy. Work with me, people. Love, happiness, gift, goal of life, bliss, knowledge, wisdom, manual, solution, purpose,
Transformation.
transformation. Can't hear you. You got to speak up because people can't hear you otherwise. Bhakti. Come on, sadhus. What's your message? I mean, you look like you're a bunch of nice guys, but I want to know what I'm going to get out of this, So you got to convince me. You got to sell this thing to me. Time is money. I got things to do, people to meet. So
Satisfaction.
satisfaction, positivity, practical, yes, culture, meditation, education, yoga. How about peace? Peace? Anybody likes peace? You don't like peace, huh? There's no peace, there's no happiness. You remember that one? It's in the big book there, Yeah. So you can take all your favorite Gita shlokas and you just distill the principle. And it's called a punchline, Punchline. Like in martial arts, it's not about woo, it's about the punch. If you can't deliver the punch, there's no impact. And if you do not have a strong framework, if you're not grounded, you don't have impact either. Like Bhuktisibhushan is the tip of the arrow. Now, an arrow without a shaft doesn't have any impact. And if it doesn't have feathers, it doesn't have any direction because it doesn't have any balance. So, we'll speak more about the arrow analogy later. Okay. Now, every person has a capacity. Some have very small capacity, some have bigger capacity. Some can only take a small book, some can take many books. The first day I went out door to door, I distributed 5 books. 2 people took 1 book and 1 lady took 3 books. My Sankirtan leader, Rohini Sudha Prabhu, have you heard of Rohini Sudha Prabhu? Yeah, one of the great heroes. Prabhupada disciple, guru, he was a GBC, he raised us, he looked after us, he bought me my first watch, he bought us our clothes, he took care of us like a mother. It was great. He said, why didn't you give her a set? She took 3 books. I said, I didn't have a set. He said, tomorrow you go back and you bring the set. And I was a little bewildered. I'm like, how can you go back to the same door? So I went back the next day and I knocked on the door, and the door opened and she said, I said, you remember me? She said, yeah, I remember you. You're the guy with the book from yesterday. I said, yeah, but yesterday I didn't have something very amazing that I wanted to show you. Can I show you now? She said, yeah. So I showed her the set and she bought the set. And I thought, hey, it works. It works. If I follow the guidance of my authority, it works. It's a very good realization. Have you had that realization? Yeah, it's valuable, right? Because before that, you think you have to come up with everything yourself. No. There are other people. What does Krishna tell Brahma when Brahma is praying for the creative potency? Like here, I see a lot of little Brahmas who want to create their projects and grow their universe, And there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of, am I going to get this together? Am I going to be a success? Am I going to make it? Brahma was in anxiety too. He practiced tapasya for how long? 1,000 years. And after that, Krishna came and he shook his hand and he said, thank you. That's pretty cool, huh? Krishna came and shook Brahma's hand and he said, thank you. And then he said a very beautiful shloka. He said, don't be anxious and don't be depressed. Whatever you're praying for has already been granted so many times. In other words, you're not the first Brahma. Okay? So get over it, all right? You got 4 heads, there's a few others with more heads. You know that story. So you're not the first brahmacharis, you're not the first book distributors, you're not the first temple presidents or preachers. It's been done before, okay? So just follow in parampara and you'll get empowered, okay? But notice this, everybody has a capacity. Capacity can increase according to surrender, according to blessings, according to empowerment, but accept the fact that people are where they're at, and you have to meet them where they're at. When Prabhupada was in England at John Lennon's estate, Tittenhurst, he talked to John Lennon's gardener about British sports cars. Now, why would Prabhupada, a Goloka man, talk with a British gardener about British sports cars? Any ideas? Was Prabhupada a fan of British sports cars?
To be relevant.
He was trying to? Can't hear you, you got to use the mic, otherwise no bhakti points.
Relate with the guy.
Relate to him?
Connect.
Yeah, and make the other person be able to relate to him. Because you look at a 70-year-old Bengali Swami, it looks like somebody who dropped out of the sky, like from a Britisher's perspective. So to make it relatable, Prabhupada talked about something that person knew about and was dear to that person. He could relate, so he could relate to Prabhupada. And he really remembered Prabhupada very fondly. He was very appreciative of Prabhupada. Why? Because Prabhupada understood his heart, what he was interested in. Okay? That's called Sambandha Gyan. You have to be able to make that connection, that bridge, that connection. I was at the Mumbai airport, not this time, but a few times ago when I arrived, and I walked outside and nobody was there to pick me up. Has this ever happened to you? Yeah, it's the classical ISKCON scenario, right? Driver is late. It's supposed to be like that because drivers are supposed to be late, right? So then, what do? Well, I don't have an Indian SIM. So I need to talk to somebody. There's a young guy, he has got a big green backpack. And so I asked him, do you have a phone that I can use? I only have foreign SIM. So yeah, he gives me his phone and I give him the Bhagavad Gita. And I say, you check this out, and I make my call. Okay? And so I make my call, and the driver says, just now coming, heavy traffic, but, you know, he's probably been sleeping, he's been late, the usual stuff. So then he wants to give me back the book. I say, no, you can keep it. I ask him, Army? He says, no, Navy. I say, oh, even better. Ah, very nice. And I point at the book, and I say, you see here, this guy? Know this guy, Arjun? Huh? He's military, you're military, okay? So, same, you know, same. Sambandha Gyan, you have to make that connection. Without Sambandha, there is no Abhideya and Prayojana. You have to make that connection between the book and the person. Otherwise, they don't get it. Huh? He took the book. Of course he took the book. So, now, when you go out to the Shivit books, and this is the intro for tomorrow, we're just warming you up. Have you been fruit picking? Did you ever work on farms? Did you ever go to a farm? Mm-hmm. So, pick the right fruits. Only pick the right fruits. The others, leave them on the branch, because they need some more time. Of course, if you're in Bengal, you break the branch and you drag it home, because otherwise somebody else will get the fruit. Huh? It's an insider joke, you know. So, some people are not ready. They need a little more time. So you have to give them that time. Krishna is the doer. We cannot force people. We can only offer them an opportunity. Sometimes we have to interact a few times before they warm up and they're willing to take books. Even with our own congregation, you can't expect everybody immediately to sign up for the whole thing. One very good thing to do is you do Sunday feast, and you have a little table next to your asana, and you just put the set there, and you just talk about the books. Once in Philadelphia, I distributed 23 sets at the Sunday feast class. You just ask after the talk, how many of you have these books? How many of you don't have them? How many would like to get a set? 23 sets went out. It's been done before. Just following parampara, okay? So, picking the right fruits. Now, how do you notice who's the right fruit? Any indicators? How would you know? We have microphones. They need to be used. This is good exercise, you know?
If one smiles like singers,
Yes, like you look at somebody and they smile. And they go like, you have something for me? Huh? You want to talk to me? Huh? Yeah. I'm here. That's a right fruit, right? Some people, you look at them and they immediately, right? They immediately escape, right? Immediately they go for the exit. Let them go. Don't run after them. Don't run after them. Focus on the right fruits. What's another indication for a right fruit?
If
You got two mics.
if he listens to what we are saying.
He actually listens, he pays attention, yes. That's a good indicator.
If while we are doing Sankirtan book distribution together, somebody stops to watch the devotees to see the Sankirtan, we can go and approach them.
They stop. They hang around. They're comfortable. They feel like, yeah, these are my people. You know, this is my thing. You know, I like this. It's the right fruit. They're already like part of the Sangha.
they are looking at the books what we carry.
They look at the books, yeah. They may come themselves and just check it out, you know? Good. What's an unripe fruit? Any? Have you ever met people who were not ready? In the back, we need a microphone in the back.
Not interested in you or books.
Not interested in you or books. Yes. Pass it up.
Argumentative.
Argumentative. You ever met people who wanted to argue with you? And you always won the argument, right? But at the end, they still didn't buy the book. Has this ever happened to you? Yeah. Have you ever argued with people?
Yes.
We all have. Don't make the same mistake more than 10 times, okay? So you write down in a little book, don't make the same mistake more than 10 times. Huh? Because after that, according to Einstein, insanity, right? It gets a little stupid, a little old. You know, you talk to the pretty young girl and you think she's really interested. No, it's not gonna work out, okay? Argue with the argumentative person or the old guy who tries to prove that he's right and you're wrong. Just don't do it. Just let it go.
People come to find faults. Why you're distributing book? You are making money. So
Yes, immediately challenging, immediately going for the fault, like the fly, just looking for the mistake. Huh? So these are all unripe fruits. Don't go after them. Just like sometimes you try to open up nuts. Have you ever tried to open up nuts? Sometimes it's difficult, right? Some are hard. What do you do with them? Leave it. Deal with the other ones first, right? Leave the other ones. Now when they're difficult, there's different things you can do. You can take a hammer and smash them. But then there's a problem. What's the problem? You got a nice mix of broken shell and nut. And it's not so nice to eat, and it's not so easy to sort out. Same with people. Don't take out the hammer and think it's going to be a nice relationship. Once it breaks, once the trust breaks, it's very difficult to bring it back to a good state. So, patience, persistence, but dispassionate. We're not the doers. It's up to Krishna. So pick the right fruits, be an ambassador of goodwill, leave everybody with a good impression, and recognize that people have different capacity. Some can take a smile, some can take some kind words, some can take a small book, a big book, some can take a full set. We try the best we can. Don't overshoot the target, don't give them too less. It's like when you're serving prasadam, you have to be conscious, right? Sometimes they just walk around and they chuck, and you put your hand there and boom, ow, you know? Has this ever happened to you? Or is it just me? And you go like, Baba, hello, hey, problem, you know? And they're just like, you know, maybe it's a robot, maybe it's AI, I don't know, you know? They just, we got to be conscious before we can be Krishna conscious. Huh? Be perceptive, be sensitive, and you'll be surprised that people are sensitive and sensible too. Now, everyone is sensitive in a different part and in a different way, but everybody has some sensitivity and some sensibility. So be aware of that fact, and you will have a better time sharing the message. What else? Yeah, what really can screw things up and get us into trouble is if we start using half-truths or lies. Sometimes we use crutches. You know the crutches? Yeah. Like you go out and you tell people, we're coming from over here, we're going over there, and by the way, we're feeding elephants in Africa and kids in Greenland. Give me the money. Now it works. It has been done and it works. But what could be some of the problems of that? Any ideas?
What if they verify? They get to know that you're lying, bluffing.
They get to know that you're lying. Like
That
you-
will be serious implication. Like the first principle,
Yeah.
that the long term society's reputation is at stake.
Yeah. And dishonesty and all that. So it's like about 3 principles are broken just in one go. And you can notice it, and anybody can notice it. Now you may say, how will this person know that I'm lying? this person is not following sattvic lifestyle. How can they know? How would they be able to know? By the will of the Lord. Because Krishna is in their heart. And he tells them, he's a cheater, this guy's lying. Like if you have kids around you and you think you can tell them anything and they'll believe you anything, you're wrong. They're not so corrupted. Krishna is in their heart. They can tell. They'll tell you, you're lying to me. Now you can say, you're too small to know. Huh? Krishna is there. Krishna is telling them. So, we have to be aware of that and don't compromise. Don't try to mix up stories because otherwise, you know this thing that some people are never wrong, but they're not always right? So, sometimes we take the truth not in a literal way and we start stretching things just for convenience sake, and then we get into trouble. So, be aware this is one of the danger zones where things can go a little difficult. Okay, any questions on this? What we brought up? This was just the startup. Any questions? Any reflections? Okay, what I want to do right now is I would like you to read Prabhupada's books for the next 10 minutes. Is that okay? All right. So what you're going to do is you're just going to pick up your book or on your phone, your e-reader, whatever you got, and you just read. You don't do homework. You don't take notes. You just read for 10 minutes. All right? And after that, I want you to pair up with your neighbor and share what you read. Okay? Go ahead. No need to talk or to communicate, just read for 10 minutes. Everybody has a book or somebody needs a book? Huh? Somebody doesn't have a book or e-reader, okay? Okay, Hare Krishna. So now you turn to the person next to you and you share the essence of what you read. And that should take a couple of minutes, and then the other person shares with you. Okay, so you team up in pairs, 2 persons together, whoever is next to you, and you share what you have read. Everybody, find somebody, team up. You don't. Switch over if you haven't yet switched over. Have you both shared? Who is finished? Finished. Okay, couple more minutes, 1-2 more minutes, finish up. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Haribo. So now we would like to hear not what you read, but what you remember what the other person has read. Okay? Now all you Naishtika Brahmacharis with your photographic memory, okay? You can contribute. Yes, we have microphones, use them. What did you hear from your friend?
My friend Vajayatan was telling about Suta Goswami speaking to Naimsharan Rishis. He was talking about Suta coming from a lower caste, born caste in some 18th chapter of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He was telling that I am born in a lower caste, but because I am engaged in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord, I am being elevated. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, though born in a Shudra family, nature family, but he has got elevated to the position of Namacharya. That happened because he is engaged in chanting the holy names of the Supreme Lord. So, in this case, he was telling that one more, because he is engaged in the service of Supreme Lord, that got a major connection. He was telling that because I am engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord, that got me elevated. That's what he is telling the point in 18th chapter, 18, 19 and 20 shlokas. In this essence he was talking to me.
Thank you for sharing. Behind you.
Prabhuji shared about the 14th chapter of the Gita, 22nd to 25th verse he was reading, where Arjuna is questioning Krishna, what are the symptoms of a person who has transcended the three modes of mental nature. So generally a person is very much traumatized and he acts in control of the three modes. What happens to him when he is out of the control? So then Krishna is telling that the main symptoms is he is very satisfied and he is able to respect all the living entities, seeing them with equal vision. He is not affected by dualities like, for example, Man, Apaman, Shita, Ushna. So this is a section Prabhu read.
Thank you.
My friend has shared about Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila, initial chapters where we read that Shivananda Sena, the dog is so faithful to Shivananda Sena that it is only because of an association of Shivananda Sena it has become delivered. Similarly, we should be like a dog for the Vaishnavas. So we should be in association of the Vaishnavas like in a dog and serve them so that we can definitely be delivered. Srila Prabhupada has importantly said that whatever impediments come on our path, so we should pray for Shat Goswamis six Goswamis. By that, the impediments will be removed and we can go ahead on our path of devotional service.
Thank you. Next to you. And then in the back.
Krishna Bhajan. So my friend Tapovan Hari Prabhu, he told me about, he was reading from 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he said ki the worship of Lord begins with the worship of Lord Narayan, who has 4 hands and having counsel and chakra and Padma and this Gada. So, and Radha Krishna worship is most confidential. It's most confidential. So people in starting, they worship Lord Vishnu. And the other who are more elevated, they worship Radha and Krishna.
Thank you.
My friend, His Grace Sri Karta Prabhu, he is reading Srimad Bhagavatam about Daksha Prajapati and Narad Muni pastime. So Narad Muni converted Haryashavas and again he converted Shaulasvas. So in the purport Prabhupada says ki even though Narad Muni converted him to Brahmachari, but Daksha Prajapati again sent his 1000 children because Brahmacharya principle was very important. He was although fearful but still he sent. And then again Prabhupada says, Narad Muni knew that he will get some reaction from Daksha, but still he performed his duty. Similarly, we are also preaching and we also get unfavorable peoples, but still we should continue. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram, Ram.
Sankirtan ki.
Jai. And after, he went and he tried to liberate Daksha. Because he knew now he's so upset and he's so disappointed. Now there should be an opportunity, right? To change his heart. It didn't work out the way he planned, but he tried. And that's all you can do as a preacher. Very nice. Wonderful. Some other reflections?
So I was hearing from His Grace Padma Mali Prabhu. So Prabhu was reading the Ishopanishad, the verse number 9, where there's an explanation of Vidya and Avidya. And Vidya is to be more hellish and ignorant than even Avidya. So Prabhupada doesn't talk about Avidya at all. He speaks about the Vidya that goes on in the name. It is actually Avidya that goes on in the name of Vidya here, the modern materialistic education. Prabhupada very boldly makes a comment of that. And Prabhupada mentions that more than a person who is spreading this so-called Vidya, a person who is facilitating this Vidya is considered to be more ignorant and fallen, for he is doing this. So that is a point that Prabhu was mentioning.
Thank you. Other points in the front or to the side?
Hare Krishna. So my friend Prabhuji shared some pastime from Ramayana when Lord Ramchandra met Sugriva. So then there was kind of friendship and agreement that after 4 months they will start search operation. So then Sugriva went back to his kingdom and he became so much indulged in his worldly kingdom affairs that he totally forgot the promise. And then after 4 months Lakshmana comes and then he reminded him. And
Hare Baba, Steve Jago, marathon is coming. Sankirtan.
And very heavily chastised, and then Sugriva came in his proper condition, and then he got remembrance and he became very much repent also. Then again both of them, Lord Ram and Sugriva, their teams, they started searching operation. And then he point out that even we commit mistakes sometimes due to our conditionings, we forget our proper duty, but after that somehow that if we can start our service, that is the greatest learning. So it may happen with us also that sometimes we forget, sometimes we fall down, but again if we resume our service, so that is the key point here. So
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Behind you.
So Sanatana Dharma Prabhu was he was reading from Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter. And he was reading, he read the 3 verses, 22nd, 3rd, 4th, yeah? Maybe 22nd, 3rd, 4th. And he was explaining how Srila Prabhupada is stressing, Prabhupada is making a very important point, saying that the worship of Lord Brahma and Shiva is under mode of ignorance, but to take the worship of Vishnu is the Sattva Guna, and any jiva who is willing or hoping or looking forward to take up Krishna consciousness or devotional life should at least be on or in Sattva Guna, and which is a difficult phase to get on. But then Srila Prabhupada makes a beautiful statement, and Prabhupada says that no matter on which level a soul is or jiva is, just by a serious endeavor of following his spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, he just has to do that much, and rest of the task or responsibility will be taken care by that bona fide guru. So a person may be on any of the gunas, but just by following a bona fide spiritual master, the job is done.
Haribo! Thank you. Yes, microphone in the front. Coming up.
Hare Krishna, my friend he told me something about 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is written that in Satyuga people are more advanced in devotional service, and then when the gradual goes down, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, so the principles will become reduced, and especially in Dwapar Yuga, this was more emphasized, deity worship is more emphasized, but in Kali Yuga, it is also not possible. That's why there is chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, chanting mantra to his Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us, so he did not build any temple and etc. But then again, here in 3rd or 4th paragraph, it is written that if we do Sankirtan, especially book distribution, literature distribution, that is most important in Kali Yuga. That is the point he was emphasizing, and also he told that a Vaishnava is successful Vaishnava if he converts other people into Vaishnavas, like Narad Muni as a class 1 Vaishnava.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any more?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So Prabhu explained from Srimad Bhagavatam, Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam. So how the Bhagavatam is ripened fruit. So that ripened fruit was bitten by Sukadeva Goswami. And then, so Prabhu explained that part, and then later in the Prabhupada is explaining on rasas. So how these rasas originally emanated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then the perverted rasas, how it's happening in the current world. There Prabhupada is giving some of the analogies of so wife and husband. So like that, the rasas, and then 5 preliminary and secondary 7 rasas. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Wonderful. Did you like this exercise? Why don't you do this every day? Huh? It's not so difficult, is it? Sharing means caring. Create reading circles. Huh? Some of you are very motivated and driven, and because that's the way how you did your studies and how you succeeded in life. But some members of your congregation may not be on that level of self-driven and self-motivation. So, create reading groups, create peer sangha. And the ratio between studying and sharing should be 80-20. 80% reading and 20% sharing. It's a healthy balance. Sometimes the talking becomes too much. So keep it 80-20. It's a healthy ratio. After here, I'm going to Govardhan. We're going to sit in Govardhan, and for 5 hours, we're just going to read Prabhupada's books. In the morning, we do parikrama or half parikrama, whatever people manage to do. And then we have morning program, and then we read for 5 hours. And we share the nectar of Krishna consciousness. It's pretty massive. So try to establish that in your place. You're the leaders. Whatever you want, that's what's going to happen. You're at a stage of your development in Krishna consciousness where most likely there is nobody there telling you what to do every day. Right? So it's up to you. Huh? The good news is, if you're trained and you know what to do, you can do whatever needs doing. The bad news is, if you don't know what to do, no one's going to tell you. And you can just make stuff up. Huh? Did you ever notice when you open up one of Prabhupada's books, you may have a problem, a question, an issue, something you are not clear about, and you open up the book and Prabhupada gives you the answer right there? Has this ever happened to you? Yes or yes? Yes. Thank you for your great audience participation. You know the easiest way to distribute books? You just open the book and you just read. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformation in the modes of matter are products of material nature. And people go, wow, did you just make this stuff up? No, it's called Shastra. It's called revealed knowledge, you know. You can't make this up. This is not like motivational talking and, you know, little quotes that people copy paste. This is straight from the source. This is right from where he comes from. Huh? This is massive. This has impact. I was in Reykjavik, Iceland, which is a very cold place, and it's made from volcanic lava. You know, volcanoes, they erupt and they spit out lava, and then when the lava, it cools down, that's what the whole island is made of. Rock, lava. And I was in front of the main church, and I met a guy. He was a tall guy, maybe 2 meters tall, a real Viking, like a real strong guy. And I showed him Beyond Birth and Death. And he said, I have to go to church. He's calling me. And I liked the way he talked about God, you know, in a very personal way. Like, he's calling me. I have to go. Calling. Have you found your calling? You know that saying, the calling? What calls you? Huh? In French, it's la raison d'être. We have, you know, like your svadharma, your true purpose in life. So I said, that's very nice that he's calling you, and this is for you, and please give a donation. So he gave me something, and then we talked a little bit. And after a while, he said, you know, I like you. I want to help you. So he took his phone, and he was scrolling, and I thought, what is he scrolling on his phone? So he was checking his accounts. And he said, I can give you $200. Would that help you? I said, yeah, it's okay, you know. So he transferred the money, you know, 16,000 rupees for Beyond Birth and Death. Not bad, right? So, and then he went to church. And then after 15 minutes, he came out, and we sat together on the bench. And we were talking. And he was talking, and I was listening. Because sometimes people just need to be heard. Have you noticed? They just need to be heard. And if you're in a position of leadership or of preacher, it's not about how much you talk. It's about your ability to listen. The teachers that were most memorable to me, who I learned the most from, are the ones who knew how to listen. Like Burijan Prabhu. You know Burijan Prabhu? Huh? A few years back, I was at Govardhan, same place, just behind Govardhan Palace. He has a small little apartment. I walked him back to his apartment. And he said, you know, Navina, there's something that I wanted to tell you for the last 2 years. Oh, okay. That caught my interest. What would that be? My teacher tells me there's something he wanted to tell me for 2 years. And he hasn't told me, but now he's telling me. Now that's a teacher. You get it? That's a teacher. But first he heard me out. He let me talk a little bit about what's going on in my life and what I'm doing, etc. And then he said that, and then we discussed. So I'll tell you his story later. But getting back to our friend, the Viking. So then he said, you know, I like you. We should stay in touch. Can I have your contact? And I say, you know, I don't do social media. I'm an anti-social person. But I know that's hard to believe. But I can give you my WhatsApp number. Don't text, just send me WhatsApp message. The same day, later on, he sent me a message. He said, I read the first page of your book. I like it very much. It says, you're not the body, you're the soul. I could not agree more than that. This is very important information. The world needs to know this. And by the way, I want to help you. Come and see me tonight. So he sent me his address. I went to his place, and he told me his story. He was studying medicine in England, and as he finished doing his general medicine, just as he was getting into specialization for surgery, his wife fell very sick, and he had to stop school and start working to make money and to take care of his wife. So he was nursing his wife, and he was working as an ER doctor, emergency room doctor. He is the top emergency room doctor in Iceland. In his hospital, he has seen 70,000 patients in the last 20 years. Anybody who walks in, he's the first guy who sees them. Couldn't do specialization because he had to start to work. He told me his whole life story. And at the end he said, you know, you're doing important work. People are suffering because anybody who comes into my hospital, they have the same problem. The disease is only a symptom, but their problem is they don't know I'm a soul. They think I'm the body. That is their real problem. That's why they're suffering. That's why they're in so much anxiety and pain. And this knowledge has to be given to everybody. So I really like you. So I want to help you. So he just pushed over some stack of money. He gave me 1 lakh for a beyond birth and death. Then a few days later, he texts to me and he says, I won the lottery. So I got very excited and I texted back, how many crores, you know, like how many million? And then he said, no, not that lottery, the lottery of life. I feel very blessed. I feel very fortunate. So don't get ahead of yourself when you're a preacher, okay? Don't think, oh, this person is going to give a lot or do a lot, or, you know, then usually, Puna Mushtika Bhava, right? Again, become a mouse. So then he said, another time, a few days later, he said, you know, I have a problem. My priest who was counseling me, he left the church 3 months ago. Now I don't have anybody to discuss my issues. I feel like I'm an orphan. I feel like I'm abandoned. Can you be that person that, you know, that will counsel me? I said, well, you're the doctor. You have to diagnose. I don't know if I'm qualified. That's up to you. I'm happy to serve you in that capacity, but the choice is yours. So then a few days ago, he texted me and he said, you know, my father was very spiritual. Initially, I was a little apprehensive, you know, because I thought he's so Christian. And once he starts reading Prabhupada's books, it may not gel, you know. It may be a little tough. So I spoke in very inclusive language, you know, that he could understand. He said, you know, my father was very spiritual. He told me about Indian gurus. I never met an Indian guru till I met you in front of the church. So, when Prabhupada's books are out there, people can recognize the substance. They can recognize this has got substance. I want more of this. This is real. That's why we should give people Prabhupada's books. Yes, you can also have a few cookbooks and a few higher tastes and maybe 1 or 2 other things. But again, 80-20 formula, okay? Keep the balance. 80% Prabhupada's books, 20% the other things. I know this question is going to come up, so I'm already telling you, okay? Minimum 80% Prabhupada's books. And all the other stuff, maximum 20%. Otherwise, in 2 generations, everybody will sell their guru's book or their own book, and nobody's going to distribute Prabhupada's books anymore. So, why am I telling you this story? Because people are out there. They're looking for substance. They're looking for the real deal. We've got this greatest gift. We should share it with the world. That was Prabhupada's mood and mission. That was Prabhupada's meditation. Srila Prabhupada said, whenever a new book is published, I feel like I've conquered an empire. If you want to make me live forever, publish and distribute my books. He said that there's no more direct way to preach Krishna consciousness than through the distribution of my books. So these are all quotes from Prabhupada. I'm sure you have read them. Have you read this book, Nectar Book Distribution? No? It's available. You can buy it, or it's also a free ebook. On Krishna.com, you go to the section ebooks. It's a free ebook. It's a download. The Nectar of Book Distribution. It's quotes from Prabhupada's, it's quotes from Prabhupada disciples and from other book distributors. And it has a very systematic approach. We worked for over 10 years on this book. Many devotees. Great book. So please read it. It will teach you everything you need to know on book distribution. It's English, yes. It's there in Russian also, and in Spanish and Indian languages. I don't know. You have to see. Otherwise, Google Translate, or ask a friend, AI. You'll figure it out. So, what else? Now, people want to see not just that you know a few things, but they really want to see our appreciation for what we're trying to communicate. Did you ever go into a store? I know you're brahmacharis, you don't shop, but for some of you who do, you go into a store, you go into a restaurant, and you meet people, and you can see they really hate their job. They hate their job, they hate their product, they hate their life, and they couldn't care less whether you buy something or not. Have you been in situations like that? Yeah? So, there's a Chinese saying, if you don't have a smiling face, don't open a shop or a restaurant. Because people take one look at you, and they'll decide, oh no, I'm not hungry anymore. No, I don't want to buy anything. I just changed my mind, Like you go home to your mom and you're not hungry. Your mom says, you sit down and you eat right now. Huh? And even though you're not hungry, you eat, right? Why? Because you're in Mamastan. And when you're in Mamastan, you have to do what mom wants you to do, right? To keep her happy. And because there's so much love and so much affection, so you're inspired. So, you have to feel strongly for the message and for the books that you want to distribute, and also for the institution that you're representing. Do you ever go to companies and people are talking bad about their own company? Huh? Yeah? Yeah, so make sure you don't do that, There's a rule in our group that you can criticize, you can challenge anything as long as you're willing to be part of the solution. You can write that down. And that rule is a standing rule for every Sangha. That you can point out room for improvement as long as you're willing to be part of the solution. That's a rule. Because if people are willing to be part of the solution, then it's constructive criticism. Constructive. It's actually bringing people closer to the solution. But if they're not willing to be part of the solution, then it's destructive, which means that they are part of the problem. Huh? Have you had issues sometimes with taking feedback and implementing it? We'll talk more about that. That's just a primer, okay? Because a leader is as good as the team. So, if you're not getting much done, it's because you have not been very successful in building a team and proper team dynamics. So learn the art of taking on the input, taking on the advice, taking on the suggestions from your team, and then improving your team dynamics. Just to give you an example, Prabhupada, he's our Acharya, right? He's our founder Acharya, so he's our number one example. He started publishing Back to Godhead magazine, and some friend told him, why don't you do books? Because magazines, people tend to throw them away, but books, they keep them. Prabhupada said, no, I'm the Acharya. You don't know. I know, you don't know, okay? So I'm already doing it, so just shut up and be quiet. No. What did he say? Thank you very much. and he started doing books. Prabhupada tried many things. Many things didn't work, but he changed, he adapted, he was flexible. He was fixed on his goal, he was fixed on his mission, on his principle, but he was flexible on the details. If you want to have success in your life, in your preaching, do the same. Be fixed on your goal, be fixed on the principle, but be flexible on the details. Then he was in the hospital because he was ill. He had heart problem. And the Jewish doctor said to Gargamuni, I believe, he told him, the old man, he's praying too much. He needs to get out and have some exercise, like walk. From that day on, Prabhupada, morning walk, every day, 1 hour. Every day. And he said that my morning walks and the massages are keeping me alive. Now, I know you're looking fairly young and fairly energetic, but I guarantee you, the law of gravity, it does exist. Have you noticed? Yeah, and you may not be invincible. At some point, you start to feel it. Like you notice when you're getting old is when you walk into a room and you look for your chair. Where can I sit down? When you're young, you're not bothered about where to sit down. So, Prabhupada showed by his own example. He had no problem of taking on good advice, even if it came from obscure people and from strange situations. He said, you should study the Catholic Church. Why? They have been around for 2,000 years. You can see the good, the bad, and the ugly, because history tends to repeat itself. So in a similar way, in India, we've had different missions, different organizations who have done a few things, right? You can see what worked, what didn't work, and what was terrible. So we don't have to make the same mistakes. That means being a leader, you have to have that ability to analyze, not to get stuck with the negativity, but to understand the principle and then to apply it and to be successful. Okay? We're going to watch a couple of videos. Just before we get there, any questions on any of what we discussed today? Yes, sir.
Prabhuji, you were telling Bhurijana Prabhu wanted to tell you something of 2 years. Yeah, that you,
Oh, you wanted to know what he told me? Well, that's classified information. That's the premium version, you know? You're going to have to pay for that. I'm sorry. You know, there's a paywall here, you know? Like, you exceeded your subscription. Okay, you want to know? Really? Okay. All right. I'm going to tell you. Thank you for reminding me. So we walked back to the apartment. It's a fairly short walk. But he said, number one, who do you want to please? Like, who is in your heart? Who is in your heart? Yeah, but who do you want to please? You know, Prabhupada, Krishna, your guru. Just make sure you know who is there, who you're trying to please, okay? And, you know, I just got here. I want to get it right, so I will hold on that. I'll get back to you on this one, because I want to get the sequencing right. It's good. Other points? Somebody else was asking something? I'll get back to you on the Burijan story, because it's a few things, and I don't have them in the right sequence right now. Any other points? Okay. Videos? Prabhupada? Translating the Bhagavatam.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives in this connection a description of difference of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and ordinary living being. So this is difference of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ordinary living being. This has been described in the previous verse. Sadbang Puman Vida Gunan Sutadgam Naveda Sadbhagam Mananta Mire. The purport is that Supreme Lord, He is omnipotent, omniscient, He knows everything, but the living being does not know actually what is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and ordinary living being.
You can stop here. It's okay. So, Harikesh Prabhu, he was Prabhupada's servant and secretary. He got the tapes. And whatever Prabhupada was dictating in the night, the next day, he was transcribing. You see how Prabhupada was clicking on and off? Huh? So sometimes little pieces got cut off because Prabhupada was very frugal with the tape because the tapes were very expensive. So sometimes things were hardly audible. That's how some mistakes got in and later on had to be edited and had to be corrected. One time he went into Prabhupada's room and he told Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, is it offensive to say that your books are getting better and better? Because that would imply that before they were not so good, but now they're getting better and better. So is this like something offensive to say? And Prabhupada had a big smile and he said, really? You think they're getting better and better? Thank you very much. Prabhupada was working hard on producing these books. Every night, 2-3 hours. Wherever he was, no matter what his schedule was, what the time zone was in, how long he traveled, how little he slept, he was translating every night. He was so focused on this. This was his mission, to give the world the Bhagavatam. Therefore, Prabhupada was so adamant on this point. Huh? Another video? Number 6.
And for the time being, the money will not be used for the construction in Mayapur. It will be used to print books.
Mayapur, they have already taken 1.5 lakh from me.
Now Gopal Krishna in India requested that BBT give him a loan of $160,000. In India, just this during the Mayapur festival, he requested a loan from US BBT for $160,000, which would be used to construct the second residence building.
How will pay back?
His plan was that the American temples would purchase rooms, and over a period of 4 or 5 years, they would pay that money back. So is that still approved by your divine grace?
Yes, I know.
The only thing is that we will have to delay the loan, because for the next 3 months, all our money will be used to print these 17 books.
First about books, then it loan. However, we cannot hold up printing, that is not possible. This you must always keep in view. We are not going to, the surplus money we are going to pay. Not that at the cost of stopping printing. You must always keep it. When you require money for printing, there is no question of loan. This should be our.
So Srila Prabhupada had very clear priorities, you see? Very clear priorities. In fact, when he started the movement, he started out just with the Bhagavatam, the instructions of his guru, small parakartals. He was standing in a park chanting Hare Krishna. Everything else came later. Everything else was done by the people who came who helped him. But Prabhupada was very clear. Expand the preaching, expand the Harinam, expand the book distribution. And then when money started to come, yes, then they got buildings and they built things. But that came later. So, as leaders, we have to be very aware of what were Prabhupada's priorities. Because you see, a few generations down the line, now you're trained by people who got trained by Prabhupada, okay? But 2-3 generations down the line, it's whatever, dude. It's whatever, Baba. People may not have that exposure. They may not have that training. They may not know this. And they may think, no. We need the big temple. Have you ever heard this before? We need the big temple now? You heard that mantra, right? Christians would not build a church unless they had 200 families. They knew, unless you have 200 families in your congregation, too much pressure, too much financial strain. So don't build big church or big temple unless you have a congregation that already exists. Priorities have to be clear. So there's many things that you have to do as a leader. But you have to be able to prioritize. You have to be able to create a healthy balance and to know your sequencing and see the opportunity. Prabhupada saw the opportunity. He knew the land in Juhu was way out there. And the guy, Mr. Nair, was a real rascal. I was just in Juhu. I gave a lecture there and I met Yadubar. And the Yadubar said he was there when Prabhupada met Mr. Nair the first time. You heard of Mr. Nair? Mr. N? The Juhu story? Yadubar said the guy was shaking when he was talking to Prabhupada. He was shaking and sweating. And Yadubar knew this guy is a rascal. He's a crook. But Prabhupada saw the risk, but he also saw the opportunity. Because he knew that Bombay will grow in that direction. It's a big property right next to the beach. It's a good opportunity. The price is very cheap. Let's go for it. Then, of course, you know the story. It all happened. A couple of months back, I was in the U.S., in Texas, in Dallas, on a parking lot. And I met a man, and he said, "You guys stole that property from my grandfather in Juhu." And I said, "Mr. Nair, are you the grandson?" He said, "Yes, you have to give back that land. You stole our property." And I was so happy to meet that guy because I'm connected, through him to Prabhupada, to that Jewish story. When Mr. Nair died, Prabhupada had them distribute sweets on Hare Krishna land. And Prabhupada said it was a good fight. It was a good fight. He prayed to Nrsingadev to finish him. And the guy was gone. So, I was so happy to meet that guy. He was getting more and more angry, especially as he saw that I was super happy, to meet him. Because I was like, hey, this is great, Like sometimes people are challenging or they get angry and we get excited. We're like, hey, thank you for recognizing. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. If people just ignore you, it means you're not doing anything. But if people start challenging you, criticizing you, screaming and yelling at you, don't do anything to provoke that, but sometimes it happens. Don't take it as an insult. Prabhupada said, initially, at the beginning, they will just ignore you. Then, they will ridicule you, then they will fight you, and then later on they will accept you. It's a progressive path. So don't get too conditioned. Right now, ISKCON India is a brand name. And in most places, people respect and recognize the brand of ISKCON. Don't take it for granted. It took 5 decades. It took a lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to bring it to that level. So Now, with every gift, with every gift that we get, there is also a responsibility that comes along with it. How are we going to use that legacy? Mukti Padesa Dayabak, that inheritance that has happened. How are we going to use it? Use it or lose it. If we can't figure out how to do this thing, then I don't think Prabhupada will be that happy. If we tell him, your members are not reading your books, your members don't have your books in their home, your members don't have a clear sense of mission, I don't think Prabhupada would be very pleased. Yasyadave Parabhaktir. Our capacity of receiving mercy depends on how good we are in instilling the Siddhanta in the people who follow us or who take our counsel. To that degree, without being able to inspire them and lead them in the mission of spreading the Sankirtan movement, we'll be useless, and they'll be useless. So, please meditate on this. I know you heard many important things in these weeks, and it's been quite packed. You heard about deity worship, you heard about Varnashram, you heard about education, about sadachar, about chanting Hare Krishna, and now it's all like a big khichdi, right? It's all like, it just goes into the akash. It just goes into the pradhan. But I guarantee you will be able to make sense of it, especially when the marathon comes and you go out, because you're leaders, and the leader has to lead from the front of the battle. So you go out and you lead your congregation and you show them how it's being done, how to preach, how to distribute books. Prabhupada was doing it himself. He did everything by himself. In fact, initially, he wrote, he printed, he distributed, he cooked, he served, he cleaned, he did everything. Till after 1 year, some young boy asked, Swamiji, can I help you? And Prabhupada said, yes. I thought nobody would ever ask. He thought maybe they're rich kids, maybe they're spoiled. Maybe they're, they had maids and their mom was, doing everything for them. Prabhupada was ready to do everything himself. He was happy. He wrote letters to his godbrothers. He said, you come here and you be the Acharya, and I'll organize the mission. But you be the Acharya. Nobody came. Hardly anybody helped. Later on, when ISKCON got established, then other people also tried. So, it's important that we know history because it's part of legacy, it's part of tradition. Now we're going to talk more about tradition and innovation and about management and about how to distribute books, but these are foundational principles. Foundational principles. Like in every relationship, there has to be respect and appreciation. If you have respect and appreciation, you have a relationship. If you don't have respect and appreciation, you don't have a relationship. Because that's sambandha gyan. You know who you are, what the other person is, and you know your relationship. Then your interaction will actually improve. Just like if you want to do business with big people, you can't just pitch. They first want to know who you are. They want to get to know you. So, they want to spend time with you and see whether the cultures match, whether the cultures are compatible. So, Prabhupada showed by example. He manifested all these qualities of Uttam Adhikari, of a Vaishnav, just like in regards to chanting Hare Krishna. I didn't want to overgo the topic of, sadhana and chanting and reading. Prabhupada said that 90% of your spiritual advancement comes from chanting Hare Krishna. You can write that down, 90%. I think that's a passing mark, right? 90% of your advancement. So, don't compromise on your japa. Don't start doing messaging and phoning and managing during japa time, okay? You know that little airplane mode? Use it, okay? Unless you're a heart surgeon or unless you're on emergency duty, your phone can be in flight mode till you finished your japa. Can you do that? Can you do that? So then do it. How many times do I see people, they're so-called chanting and doing stuff on the phone? You know, Krishna is the supreme, I think battery, no? Krishna is the supreme Ishvara Parama, Krishna. He's Purusha. Huh? So that means he does not like to be neglected. He wants full attention. He does not want to be somehow ignored. So please focus on your japa. In this way, you will have substance in everything else that you do. This is foundational. So don't compromise. Yes, sometimes there are marathons, there are emergencies, but don't make your whole life an emergency. Remember, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a lifetime marathon, and you have to stay alive. It's not just about how much you do in one day or in 1 week or in 1 year. You have to start to see the bigger picture. So Srila Prabhupada, in his own life, we can see how he used his time, how he was very diligent with his time. You want to get more done? Look how Prabhupada lived his life. He was very disciplined with his regulation. He was not frivolous. You saw how he was taking questions, meanwhile he's doing his work, but, delegating. Don't do everything yourself. We'll talk more about that on the 4th day. So Prabhupada spent his whole life to prepare. You know who's the first person who Prabhupada saw when he came to the West? No, before Sally. No. I mean, Pandey was, he was, he was the guy on the boat. But then, when he got to Boston Harbor, there was a Coast Guard in a little boat in the Boston Harbor. And Prabhupada was on Jaladuta, and Prabhupada was smiling and waving, and the Coast Guard was waving. And 4 years later, the Coast Guard became a devotee. And later he became a sannyasi, Chyavana Swami. Why? Because he waved at Prabhupada. Prabhupada had spent his whole life in preparation. When people ask you why you're getting up early and chanting Hare Krishna, you can say, I'm working on my smile, So you can just look at people and you just flood them with Krishna consciousness. It's said that some of the associates of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, if the breeze touched them and then it touched you, you just went mad in ecstasy of love of God. Pretty nice, huh? Pretty nice. Utsahan. You know what utsaha means? Enthusiasm. It comes from Latin, entheos. What does it mean? To be connected to God, to be possessed by God, to be guided by God. Huh? That is what we're praying for. That is what we're aspiring for. Huh? That is Prabhupada's example. That is Prabhupada's legacy. So we're going to quit a little early today. I don't know did you all write your... Yes, you all did? Thank you very much. And please work diligently. What is the homework? Who remembers? 5 whys, yes, your 5 personal reasons. What else? Principles, values explained. What else? The aims and the purpose of education for book distributors. And then the skill worksheet for principles and values at the end. We had that, yes. You have to mark that one. Okay? So I know your schedule is pretty tight. You have homework. and you have your projects that you have to manage, and you just finished the class yesterday, and this is already the next one, but on Friday you'll get kshuti, right? You get free time. There will be the end of this semester, right? You're looking forward to the end? Yes. Okay, so thank you for your kind attention. We'll see you tomorrow. I love that sound. We'll see you tomorrow at 10:29. Same place. Srila Prabhupada ki. Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki. Harinam Sankirtan ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyeva cha patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.